All right, here we are. Welcome back to Bookwave. How you guys doing this week?
Pretty fantastic. I have conducted two workshops with my hypnosis integrated design your life method of kind of taking all of the information of the Design Your Life book and fusing it with hypnosis and play to kind of fast track the approach to planning out your life. And I've had great success. I had 5 people on Sunday and just a one-on-one session today that was with a boomer, and I had to kind of on the fly rejig the workshop for someone who doesn't need to get training or certifications. So the 5-year designing your life plan was reduced to a 3-year designing your life plan, and it went really well.
Right on.
That's good, dude.
What about you, PatMan? Anything worth noting?
Well, I'm relieved to have just one job and not two, which allows me to spend some free time on the weekend to work on side gigs for voiceover and focus on my writing, start reading more. And in fact, well, since you mentioned workshops, I actually was invited by a coworker of mine to go to his networking event over just sort of like business consultation in how insurance works, which is not my forte, but I decided to go nonetheless. And it was interesting to see. And Udemy offered a like a sale on their website, so I decided to pick up a few additional courses. One of them, actually, there's three of them by Kane Ramsey of ecology.
Oh yes, I
And
love Kane Ramsey.
And I decided to get three of his courses, and that's something I'm going to be going into for the next several months.
So Kane Ramsey, he's actually NLP certified. So that's what I got certified in. He's a trainer level, obviously, but he's such a great character. I really love his personality and his ability to give lectures without notes and just on the fly with a few notes expand on the points that he's talking about in a fun, playful, creative way. He's just so engaging. I give you 2 thumbs up on choosing those courses.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by his work.
Cool stuff. I'll have to check it out eventually.
And he's got an interesting history. Like he's a very well established individual, and he knows what he's doing. He knows who his clients are, and he knows how to deliver a very valuable piece of information. That's for sure. I'm going to be taking a couple of his courses down the road, I think.
Right on.
What about you, Scott? What's the news?
Well, I thought I'd talk about one of the books that I finished recently called The Three Body Problem by Sijin Liu. Doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about before, so this is a hard left turn. It's a book about SETI and kind of about communism is like one of the major themes.
Okay.
It
In
starts
in
out
a
with
in
like
a good way?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like
Like examples? Does he give examples of socialism?
yeah, it's a very historical book. So part one starts off in the 1960s with like the Chinese Cultural Revolution. So it gives you a very good look into what socialism and communism really is, like under direct Maoist China. And then it takes the whole search for extraterrestrial intelligence from their side. So it starts off with this girl watching her father getting executed because he was a physicist, and he's just like an admirer of Einstein, and all the Chinese people said that, hey, this doesn't work for us. All these reactionary European scientists are trying to fill the world with lies while they're working on their propaganda. So they execute her father, but she was a highly educated person in astrophysics. So they kept her around, and they kind of put her in this Red Coast base, and they made her do all the work that she could do without knowing everything that was going on, kind of thing. But eventually they let her in on everything, and a whole bunch of shit goes down.
All right, you've piqued my interest. So she's doing some bad stuff without knowing that the stuff is bad?
Well, really, she's looking for aliens without knowing that she's looking for aliens, is what it is. But
Oh.
eventually, she finds out that what they're doing is looking for aliens, and there's a whole bunch of red tape involved. Like, some people are in the know, some people aren't, and she's just kind of like working there as an engineer, fixing machinery. But eventually, she like gets romantically involved with one of the higher ups, and they tell her everything in stages. I don't want to give too much of it away, but
Whole lots of conspiracy going on.
yeah,
So what is the three-body problem? Could you break that down for us?
I would love to. See, the first three body problem was actually lunar theory. So, when Newton was trying to track the motion of the moon in relation to the motion of the Earth and the Sun, that's three celestial bodies. Figuring out their pathing is an example of the three body problem. But the term was first used in 1747 by Jean Laurent d'Alembert and Alexis Claroux, and they were basically trying to just expand and perfect lunar theory and trying to figure out other examples of it.
Okay, so very physics-based.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, this book is like a science fiction lover's sci-fi too, because it's got virtual reality, it's got lots of physics and advanced technology, and of course the search for aliens. So what more could you ask for, really, in a sci-fi novel?
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
like
of
a good
course.
recipe. And how did you come across this book?
The first time I heard about it was somebody in the Akira The Don chat, just like mentioning it. I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And I saw it at the bookstore, and then I was talking to the girl at the bookstore about it. I'm like, man, this book sounds really cool. So I checked it out, and then afterwards I found out that it was part of a trilogy. So now I need to go buy the next two books in the three body problem,
Very good.
which are called The Dark Forest and Death's End, are the next two.
That sounds
And
interesting.
so the author, where is he from? Is this?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
he's a Chinese author, and the translator is like a Chinese American. So the translator's notes are really good too. And it's like anytime that you would run into a spot where you're like, I don't quite get the cultural reference, there's always a translator's note right there. And even for anything that you might not understand in physics, there's like a translator's notes too. And there's one point too in the novel where it references another book by Cixin Liu, so you can see that he's trying to build this his own little universe.
Okay,
That's good.
So he references a book called Ball Lightning, but that's not part of the trilogy at all, but it's still part of his little universe.
very Lovecraftian of him.
I haven't read too much about Ball Lightning, so it might be just more physics focused and more limited in time. Because this book, Three Body Problem, also has a time skip. Because after you see the execution and the things that go wrong with the main character Yi Wenji here, does a time skip and you get a new main character. His name's like Wang Miao. He's a scientist that works in nanomaterial.
Okay.
So of course, in every good sci-fi, you need your scientist main character. So it follows him around, and the first scene in part two is like the cops knock on his door. Eventually, it ties in with part one. The first main character comes back. Everybody meets each other. And at first, it's like really ambiguous. Like the first two parts of this book, I was like, I don't know if there's any aliens in this book at all. I think it might just be hysteria or something. Like he does a really good job of portraying the point of view of the people, not just what is actually going on.
Maybe the humans are the aliens.
Oh, you never know.
So, what other books has he written?
Those are the only four that I know about that are absolutely for sure translated into English. Is Ball Lightning and the Three Body Trilogy.
Hmm.
I don't know about anything else.
So what's your takeaway after you read the Three Body Problem? Because like it sounds like it's a sci-fi fiction, but
Science fiction, yeah.
sci-fi fiction. It sounds pretty intense in terms of physics and with the notes helping you out. Where does that put your mind? What other kind of books are you wanting to get into after reading that?
Well, I've always been into sci-fi primarily. I'll be honest with you, most of my bookshelf is Star Wars books. So reading this is kind of just getting back to what I really just enjoy reading. Like I picked this book up because we were in a lull for Atlas Shrugged and Crime and Punishment or whatever else we were reading at the time. So I was like, well, I'm gonna read another great sci-fi novel, and I'm definitely not disappointed with it. And even though it's part of a trilogy, it still wraps up really nicely at the end. It's a really satisfied ending, but it definitely leaves you wanting more. And you definitely want to find out what's happening next.
Very good. What have you been reading this week, Pat?
Well, before we started recording, I mentioned that I haven't had time to read anything because of, work outside of Bookwave. But I did pick up a book in the mail, and it's called the Weightlifting Gym Buddy Journal, and it's designed by a company called Habit Nest. And I mentioned before on the Wavecast that I'm trying to develop a healthy, productive environment by using bullet journals, and I'm taking notes and trying to find patterns in my own space and in my daily life that will be potential. And exercising is one of them. So I decided to pick this one up, and it's just a journal of different facts about how to handle exercising. It goes over micronutrients, taking care of your diet, healing after a good workout, and they mention some accountability and warnings when you work out. And there's actually in the back of the book, they have a workout sheet that's over about 50 pages, and you can put in the number of you can even write in the book too, where you can set the number of reps you want, the goals you want. They show different diagrams and images of different exercise movements, what parts of your body to work on every week, and it's really good. Very informative. They've actually written other books as well. Habit Nest. They developed a nutritional journal. They developed a morning journal where you develop these morning rituals, and they've written some other stuff too.
Sounds really helpful. I definitely approve of that. I think a lot of people need to make a habit of journaling, and sometimes it's really hard to just kind of stare at a blank page and journal. But having a tool like that, like I know there's a few out there. There's like the Big Life Journal is another really good one. But the more niche you get, the easier it is for people to actually fill in the pages. And then once you start actually filling in a journal that's more templated like that, it kind of opens up the pathways in your brain to actually be able to see the benefits and go a bit more broad with your journaling. So that's really cool. And it's probably something I need to look into, getting more information about micronutrients and things like that. So I definitely don't pay any attention to my diet. I just eat when I'm hungry, what I feel like I can eat. The other day I had a 600-gram sandwich that had like 50 slices of meat on it, sandwiched in between egg salad, and then a whole bunch of chocolate and pistachios.
Sounds amazing.
Jesus.
It was the best sandwich I've eaten in a very long time, and I was pricing it out, and like honestly, I don't understand how they sold it. Like a 600-gram sandwich, it was $6 even, like a penny per gram, and the meat that went onto it, there was one slice of a type of meat, and there's 10 types of meat, and it was like, I don't know how they're making money on it. I just don't understand.
Dude, you straight robbed them.
And this is from Foodland, and if you remember, Scott, the
man.
Foodland, I mean, it's expensive. It's like $15 for half a pound of peanut butter, and this sandwich is just like this amazing thing that is just the most bang for your buck. Like they're basically paying you to eat.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that Foodland was not cheap. I know because it was the only place that I bought groceries most of the time. Lived right beside it.
It's considered a tourist Foodland, so all of the prices are marked up for tourists. And of course, our tourism season is 2 months long, and our welfare population is 12 months existing and very high. And so people end up, instead of cabbing into town because they don't have a ride or they don't have enough money to spend on the bus, they go to Foodland and spend 3 times as much as they would 2 kilometers down the street at Food Basics.
But yeah, just I've been trying to keep track of everything that I do productively, and just designing these bullet journals that I bought. I'm starting off minimalistically. I'm not doing anything fancy because, for one thing, it can be overwhelming, and two, it can be a waste of time. So I'm just slowly discovering what my style is when it comes to bullet journaling. And of course, Udemy had this sale going on, and I bought those courses by Kane Ramsey. And I know that based on the material that I saw, it's definitely going to help me develop who I really am professionally. And I know that it's going to be very helpful when it comes to discovering what my patterns are, and just understanding myself in general. So
Heck
that's
yeah.
what's going on.
Right on, man. That's great. Like it's really hard to live life in a forward motion if you don't know where you are presently, who you are, what your tendencies are. So having the ability to persevere and actually get that locked down so you know where it is you're starting from is key. A lot of people go through life blindly, paycheck to paycheck, not understanding their habits and patterns, and I think it catches up with them in the end.
Discipline is key.
Discipline equals freedom. What more can we say?
What about you, Will?
What about me? I've been really locking down my rock wall climbing habits. Let me tell you, I am a video gamer by nature, and I've never really cared for athleticism. I was in karate at a young age, and so I was naturally fit and flexible, but I never really cared to be. And this rock wall climbing habit is just the most amazing addition to my life I could have never expected. And like, if you want to be fit, start climbing rock walls. Let me tell you, it is just the greatest experience ever. The community is so great and engaging. You just show up and say hi to people, and they are so helpful, and it is a total body experience. I was just telling Scott before we started recording, I'm going again tonight, even though I've lost half a callus on my left hand. It's just so great.
Just addicted to climbing rocks.
Yeah, and it's like on my off days, I'm going for jogs, and I'm jogging down to the waterfront and doing workouts on the pull-up bars and like an hour and a half stretch session, and it's really been the capstone to my life of activity, because I always wanted to have like a physically active life, but I never really knew why or for what purpose. And the challenge of rock wall climbing is so inspiring, man.
Exercising is fascinating because it shows you what you're capable of, and you also get this magnificent high when you're finished working out.
Yeah,
For sure.
that is so accurate. It is great. And you can't be anxious or depressed when you're in the middle of a rock wall climb. There's no time for your brain to worry about what you look like or what you said to that person the other day. It's just, where do I put my hand next? Where do I put my foot next? And that's it. It's just you and the wall, and it's heaven.
Yeah, I broke my pull-up record this morning. It was 75. Now I did 103 pull-ups this morning.
Nice.
I'm feeling pretty high.
That is fantastic, man. Obviously not in one set, more like 20, but
Yeah, it was quite a few. It was sets of between 3 and 5. My first set was 10, and then the rest were between 3 and 5.
Yeah, that's unreal, man. I think I'm up to 23 right now in one session.
Yeah, this was over like an hour and a bit, I think. I just put on a playlist and kept going. My aim was 100 and I made it, and then I did 3 more, and then I'm like, okay, now I can rest.
That's crazy. Are
And I
you
guess
doing?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say this is kind of a similar transition into productivity in general, where you mentioned putting your hand on one rock and your other hand on another rock, your foot on the other rock and your other foot on the other rock. I think the same could be said when you're looking at a task and you're writing it down, and you just have to focus on that one thing, nothing else, and then you cross it off and you think, okay, what's next on this? And
Yeah.
it seems like in the age we are now, that seems to be the most difficult part, because there are so many things to do. There's so many things that we want to do. We get overwhelmed, and we seem to never focus on what we really need to do. Not want, but need to do.
Yeah, I think it's you're right on the head of the nail with that one. A lot of people know what they want, and they don't take the time to actually look at what is involved in doing what they want, and they don't do a lot of time, or they don't spend a lot of time actually figuring out if what they want is what they want. And that's part of the design your life workshop that I was doing. So one of the big things they talk about is, like, it's great to know what you think you might want to do, but the next step isn't to do everything in your power to do it. It's to actually talk to the people that are doing it and interview them and ask them how they got there, why they got there, what they like about it, and find out if you think you want to be a massage therapist. Go and interview 20 massage therapists and see what it's like, and find out more information about what it is that you want to do and how it impacts those that are doing it before actually jumping in and getting your certifications and doing your school. Because a lot of people will get this notion in their mind, like, I'm going to be a firefighter when I grow up, or a nurse, or a lawyer, or a doctor, and they never actually talk to anybody in that field. And in many cases, find out once they're in that field, maybe 5 years deep, they actually don't have any interest in this work, and they're not sure why they did it or how they got there. And then they're faced with this terrible option of having to start over, and again, not looking at the small steps that it takes to get there. And it's a lot easier to reach a big goal by focusing on the little things that happen each day. If you can break something down into a 15-minute task and 1,500 15-minute tasks, and be able to gamify that so that when you do a thing, you can feel rewarded by the thing, instead of feeling like that thing isn't the goal. The goal should become the things that bring you closer to the goal. A lot of people don't allow themselves to feel satisfied with their efforts because it hasn't bared the fruit that they're so hungry to eat.
Yeah, that research is so important. That's the difference between a successful business and a colossal failure.
Yeah, like, I think we were talking about it last week or the week before about the woman who thought that she wanted to open a sandwich shop because she really liked eating sandwiches in sandwich shops. And then she opened a sandwich shop and realized she hated running a sandwich shop.
Yeah.
You got to try on different hats, and people are so open to sharing their experiences, whereas trying to find a job, when you go in as a potential employee, a lot of employers tend to look at you and see if you're fit for the job. But if you went in being fit for the job but not interested in the job, but just interested in the people who have the job and how that job affects them, even if you're not ready for the job, you can set up relationships with people that will be able to help you out down the road, just because they realize you're a human and you're interested and curious and engaged.
Mm-hmm. And in this age of information, there's so much available. You don't have to do all the interviewing yourself. There's lots available online where you can do some basic research first, and then start asking all the experts yourself all your deeper questions.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at right now. Rock wall climbing and this workshop. I'm hoping to sell my workshop to a couple organizations in the area in the coming months and start actually generating some real profits that I can lean on to move me forward.
Yeah, and plus, now that I have more time off, I can focus my writing, reading, and checking out these online courses. So that's going to be taking up most of my time.
I'm really excited in the next couple weeks to bang off these last two sections of Crime and Punishment and the last section of Atlas Shrugged and start getting into our next reads. I think our fall reads are going to be really fun. The Divine Comedy, especially, and The Alchemist, I'm looking forward to.
Definitely.
And I think that we should collectively decide to bang out 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson before New Year's resolution time.
That's a good idea.
I think that would be some really valuable content going into this seasonal affective disorder season. I think that'll be very helpful to revisit.
Hopefully sneak in some more Plato while we're at it.
Oh, yeah. What is it that we're doing next? Are we doing Critias and...
We should do the Republic next, because Critias, I think, references the Republic a lot.
Right, okay. I'm looking forward to the Republic. That's a big one.
Yeah, the Republic is going to be a long one, so we have the Republic and the Alchemist and Divine Comedy will be our next three. We'll have to figure out which order to put those in. Roll a dice or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, boys. May the force be equal to mass times acceleration.
And also with you.
Don't kill people.
That's for Crime and Punishment.
You have another tagline, Pat?
12 Rules for Life. Eat more lobsters. They're good for you.
Eat more lobsters. I like the metaphor of that phrase.
All right, catch you later, folks.